I just thought about something. Spirit just gave me a download. Okay. And it's about working for others, like working for like a job, especially one where you're not considered someone who makes the most choices, like a higher position. Or if you're not like a business owner where you're making decisions, it can kind of put you in a place of this repetitive way of being accustomed and more comfortable. It's almost like Spirit is saying you could end up adjusting to being told what to do, right? To the point where when you have to make a choice, you can't. Okay? So, nothing against people that have a job, because you gotta do what you gotta do. And sometimes people don't want to be in like leadership positions. Sometimes people don't want to because it's a lot of work. It's a lot. However, Spirit just wants me to mention this because it's important to practice making decisions. Because if you consistently just take instruction, when it's time for you to make a decision and there's no one there to give you instruction, it's going to be very hard for you. And this is what Spirit, this is the message. It's a short message. It is very short. Maybe I'll extend it, by just allowing the flow to come through. Okay. Decisions enhance your intellect. Spirit is saying your decisions, that you making sound decisions enhances your intellect. Okay. Because it's like a brain exercise. You know how older people, which I think is good for younger people as well, you play those little games that exercise your critical thinking and your analytical thinking, like puzzles and those games where you have to coordinate shapes with, those types of games. What do you call them? I feel like there's a name for those types of games that enhance your cognition, your cognitive ability. This is what Spirit is talking about, but it's the main reason for this message is make sure you're making decisions. Make sure you take time to plan out certain aspects of your life before they happen. Even though they may not happen that way, it's just a brain exercise. And it's also an internal process for manifesting, is what Spirit is saying. Because if it's on your mind, you're going to begin to do or take the steps to eventually get to what it is that you see, or that you have foretold yourself about something that you desire to happen in your future. Okay. Because you have to think about it, like people with certain types of jobs. Let's see. Okay. A good example is a truck driver, because a truck driver and that's just one of those jobs where you don't have to make many decisions. The only decision you have to make is sometimes which route to take. And then sometimes you don't, that's minimized as well, because there's certain routes that don't allow the big vehicle, to pass through. But with a truck driver, it's like, go pick up here, pick up, and then go drop off there. And you keep on doing that same thing over and over for years, over and over for years, over and over for years. You become a bit, was like always, it's kind of like programmed. I guess I could say programmed. Yeah. You adapt to being told what to do. So then when it's time for you to make a decision, it may make you feel a little uncomfortable, just because you're so used to being told what to do. And you might not notice it until it's time to make a decision. And then you might notice that you feel like a bit is like uncomfortable. You might feel some discomfort, like, wait, I'm used to being told what to do. Now I have to make the decision. You see what I'm saying? It also reminds me of it reminds me of this woman. It was a husband and a wife, actually, a husband and wife. They were a couple. I used to work at a bank, and they used to come in every week. And the husband would do everything, but over the years, he had gotten sick, and he had to walk around with an oxygen tank. And he had needed his oxygen so bad that he would just put a note on the paper to express to his wife what to say to me because he couldn't speak anymore. He would say hello, but it was too challenging for him at that point, right? So the woman, she never paid the bills. She never worried about the bills. She never did any of that. That was what her husband did. And they loved each other. They was together, whatever. One week, she came in and she told me that her husband had passed, and she was a mess. She was so sad. And, I was just talking to her, trying to console her the best way I could. And, because it's kind of hard. What could you really say? It's kind of like you more so listen than anything in those moments. And you help them to remember the good times with the person, because that's the best thing to hold on to, the love, because the love never dies. That's actually something that I end up going into. That's what comes to mind when I hear about someone losing someone, because it's challenging to accept loss because it's hard. But you remember those good times, you remember the love, that never goes away. That's always in existence. So she was distraught because before he passed, he never really told her what to do. And it was challenging for him. He was sick. She didn't want to overburden him with she couldn't even think about those things. She was just thinking about her husband, But, once he passed away, she didn't know what to do. She didn't even know how to pay a bill. She didn't know how to write a check. She didn't know. She just really didn't know. So I remember teaching her how to write out a check. And it's like, she wasn't even good with the computer, so it's not like she was comfortable to go on the computer and research how to do it. She genuinely didn't know. And I remember helping her, and she was crying, but she had calmed down by the time we were done with the transaction, right? But it's just one of those things. That's another example of you always having someone do something for you. There could come a point where if it's time for you to do that thing, you won't be able to do it. So if you are like that, or if you know someone like that, maybe that's a conversation that you could bring up if you feel like it makes sense to you. I'm just saying, because I just feel like it's something that's helpful to get these types of things out in the open, to talk about them, because this message is kind of watery. It's a little elusive. It's a little hidden. It's a little concealed. It's like something that slips through the cracks. And this is just another worry that could be very weighty on somebody's heart, when our whole reason for being is to lighten our heart. So it makes life so much more challenging to handle when you are forced into a space where you have to make decisions, and then you don't even know where to start. And this also reminds me of children that lose their parents at a young age and they don't know what to do. So now this makes me think about how, children should be taught about certain things when it comes to taking care of business at a younger age, which it's very special when a child is born into a family business, because they learn these things at a young age. Just like it reminds me of pizzerias. A lot of times when you see a pizzeria or a laundromat, and I'm using those two types of restaurants because I've seen this recently, and that's just what comes to mind because I've seen it the most, where it becomes a family business. And at this laundromat that I know of, the parents are the owners, of course, and they're very kind people. And their sons, they have all sons, and their sons work for the business. And they have a couple of other additional workers that do the washing of the clothes. However, primarily it's a family business. The other employees are just to help so that the sons can focus on the cash register and just making sure everything is maintained. They're more like in a managerial role of the business. But you see how it's just passed on because it's a family business, and they just know because look, you're part of the family, so you're gonna do the things. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like some niggas say, "Oh no, I don't want to." Well, it's kind of like, if you're under my roof, then you're gonna have to. Like, that's what I just hear in my mind, and that's a lot. That's usually a take that people take on. Now, some children may branch off later when they feel like it, but it's the quality of the person's ability to handle responsibilities. It increases when they are given the opportunity to learn. Okay. So if you feel like you're always being told what to do, and there's any area of your life where you feel like, just think about an area of your life where you don't really make too many decisions. What if whatever is making your decision is removed? What would you do in that case? What would you do? How would you handle it? Is there something that you could learn now? So if something happens that is going to force you into a position to have to make decisions, do you find it difficult to learn what you need to learn in order to make sure that you don't feel out of order and in disarray if what is making the decision for you is removed? Because this is very important, and it just makes me feel like this could make so many people feel lost, scared, afraid, maybe even embarrassed. Because I remember the woman when I was working, I taught her how to fill out a check. She was embarrassed, and I told her it's okay. That's if you didn't do it. So there's plenty of things I don't know how to do. So maybe there's something you could teach me. Then she started laughing. I made her laugh because it was true. I don't know everything. Everybody doesn't know everything. We just know a piece of something that we focused on, and that's what we know. And then when we decide to branch out, we do. So this is just like a branch to your tree. And it's something I want you to think about so that you don't feel in disarray. If something like this happens in your life, prepare yourself mentally so that you can withstand the responsibility to do a thing, whatever that thing is for you, because it could be so many things. I just gave a couple or a few examples, but yeah, that's the message. If you need a healthy conversation, or if you want to book a reading with me or purchase any of my books, you can. Just visit www.MNHONEYROSE.org, and the link to the store is also linked to the bottom of this video. You'll see it pop up there. And so yes, that is it, and I'll see you in the next one.